to give their opinion on who had the better speech and why. So Jalen definitely needs a lot of work. I need to work with him on using better transitions. He'll just take like a lot of phrases and he'll just kind of throw them in his essay. So I need to give him. I have this whole sheet that has a whole list of transitional words and phrases that he can start using to make his essays flow a lot more smoothly. Now Dante, on the other hand, all-star student. His essays are always impressive to me when I'm comparing them to a lot of the other data that I have. And he is one of the only students who actually completed everything that, or addressed, should I say, everything that was in the prompt. So he actually did speak about ethos, logos, or pathos. Jalen just totally ignored that part. So if you look at that prompt where it says, given the speaker's argument, purpose, and audience, they should have been talking at some point about ethos, logos, or pathos. Those three rhetorical devices that we just recently went over when we're talking about argument. So Dante definitely uses it. Let me see. It was one of those paragraphs where I see it in paragraph 3. Dr. King uses ethos, logos, and pathos in his I Have a Dream speech. Let's see. Using ethos, moral rights, he says we can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their adulthood and robbed of it. So not only did he tell me what he used, he gave me an example from the text to back up which one of those devices that he actually did use in his speech. Let's see. So I think the biggest thing, now of course, like Mr. Smith said, this is just a draft, so there are still a lot of mistakes there. There's a lot of grammar mistakes, but after I give them this outline, they take this outline, they type it directly into Grammy. So the final draft definitely looked a lot better. So I guess my biggest thing would be working on transitional words and phrases, definitely for Jalen and a few other students, in addition to going back over the prompt. So we've done several lessons on unlocking the prompt. What does it mean to unlock the prompt? How do you unlock the prompt? But it's clear that I need to go back over it again. It's not something that you can do one time and leave it alone. You have to go back and do it again because Jalen totally missed the last part of the prompt. He addressed some of it, but addressing some is not going to get you that 100%. So I need to go back over unlocking the prompt. That's pretty much it. Any questions about these two gentlemen or about the task?
No, I just have a me too moment. You know, the constant going over these prompts, and it almost at some point is going over the prompts or how to break it down. I find myself in a strange place having to actually set them up like this is how you do, and I feel like I'm torn because I feel like I should not have to be doing this. Like, I mean, I do it, but at some point, after you're doing 50 million times, you got to step out and take the risk to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. And I think our students, they fail being wrong, and we somehow we have shifted the conversation. You have to be right all the time. When no, you learn from your mistakes, and they don't want to be able to make a mistake, and they want to be right all the time. You know, and so how do we as educators say it's okay to get stuff wrong? You know, okay to make mistakes because that's how you learn. So for like Jalen, he feels that once he does it one time, he is exhausted. He did a massive amount of work.
Yep.
And he's like, "But I did it."
Yeah.
But Jalen, it wasn't your best. And let's look at this. So how do you go back over without giving them the way you wanted this or the way it should be done? And that's why I feel like with Ms. Goldring and myself, if Jalen had a chance to even see what like Dante work looked like, you know, to see how the setup was and to see how the flow was, not even a whole essay, but just a paragraph to compare, not to say that Dante is better than him, what we know in our mind is correct to the way you wanted it, but just to see how good writers should write a paragraph. You know what I mean?
So what you're saying is, how do we teach our kids that mistakes aren't failures?
Right, because it's just, you haven't gotten it yet. We're not saying that you can't get it.
Right.
How do we tell them? You're approaching, you're not quite there, but you're making the attempt and the steps, because life is about making those steps. So, you know, for him and others, which is the majority of our students, how do you tell them it's okay to make small steps and be unsuccessful, because that's how you learn how to be better the next time you do it, as opposed to just shooting a shot.
Say part of that is to emphasize that even the best writers don't produce the first copy like J.K. Rowling's. She has like, it's audited like 25 times, I think that's the number, right around then. And she's a professional writer that can write off the top of her head and writes thick volumes and great masterpieces. I liked with Dante how you mentioned on that third paragraph they did the quote, but what's important is he also put in his own words. And the editing thing, if he was wrong about his synopsis of what it really means, he could have been found out there, and that might have to unlock some extra meaning out of it, and he can change his writing because you brought that up into discussion. So it's good if they like a quote off of Martin Luther King. So, I mean, most of what he says can be quoted. There's a lot to it. So that's good that
Dante's
he.
known for that. His writing,
Right.
writing is phenomenal when I'm thinking about it across the board. But I can address a couple of your concerns as far as you saying, like, why am I doing this? Like, y'all should be able to. So I have an assignment that will help you as far as that gradual release when it comes down to unlocking the prompt. I'll email it to you. It's an assignment that you can tweak and you can, use some of your. I got both of you guys. I see the hand.
Right.
So it's an assignment that you can give them that will allow them to use the unlocking of the prompt on a larger scale. So I'll send it to you. And as far as you said, having Jalen pair up with Dante, I actually did that. But then it goes back to your issue. He ended up kind of using some of his words in his writing. Not on this particular essay. There was another essay we did after that. So I understand, and that's the issue that I'm still working on. How can I get you guys to peer review and not copy that person's work? If you feel like their essay's better, like, don't copy it. Just use their structure, use what they did, talk to them, take their notes, take their advice, and then tweak it to your own.
Hold on, let me get Ms. Payne real
But I
quick.
think that key, and that's why I struggle with my fourth period, because the conversation, when they actually engage with the content, you take the fish and you spit out the bones, you're ingesting what it means, and then you're listening to what the other person is saying, and then you guys collaborate. So if we do that verbally, then we can transfer that to be able to do it in a literary sense. And so I think it's like a catch-22, because even when you shout someone out, for example, Jalen Hauser or even Dante Brown, they're both in my third period. And it's made the class spectacular, but the drawback is that Damian Bryant is now trying to find an identity because he doesn't get that attention. And so then it goes to, when you shout them out for doing a good job, then someone feels a little less than.
Right.
So even when you're trying to get them to be self-sufficient or gradually release them, because the self-esteem and the will or whatever it is, there's always going to be this pull and drag. So if I give you the shout out and I say that's a great way to analyze that, then you didn't say that when I said it. So it's like there's always going to be something where you feel like, But I think that the fact that we're trying, but I would love for them to have the conversational piece where they're actually debating and disagreeing, and not as opposed to getting in their emotions. And that's fine, but I think that you touched on something that's $1 million question. I would love to get the answer to that.